I could sit around and wait all day. You lay easy on my mind.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Allie, and in this video, I'll be sharing with you guys 4 different DIY tutorials. These are 4 DIYs that have been inspired by products that we've seen on websites like Pottery Barn and Anthropologie and Terrain. So this one's gonna be loaded with a lot of great inspiration, and I think that you're gonna love it. And the beauty of these projects is that you can really take items that you might already even have on hand to create these beautiful spring-inspired DIYs and dupes. I also want to encourage you that if you don't consider yourself a DIY person, trust me, don't worry, I'm going to take you through it step by step. I promise you, you can do this and it's going to be fine. You'll even see a couple of scenarios where as I'm going through my DIYs, they maybe aren't turning out as planned. So I show you in these tutorials how you can make some quick little pivots and make them work for you no matter what. If you guys have seen some of my more recent videos, I've shared with you that I'm waiting on some bookcases to be delivered to my home. We ordered them a few weeks ago, and I've really been looking for pieces that I can use to style these bookcases. I really wanted to source some unique pieces and even create my own personalized pieces to decorate them with. I learned how to do a really cool and unique shadow box using some old books on a course called Paper Arts, which I took on Craftsy, which is the sponsor of this video. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative. They have courses on painting, sewing, crochet arts, baking, drawing, gardening, woodworking, jewelry making, and so much more. The title of the course that I took is called Paper Arts by Alton Delaney, and I loved this course because he shares all sorts of tricks to creating art out of books that you already own. One thing I've always wanted to know how to do is how to strategically fold pages of books so that they can create a really beautiful pattern when you display them on an item like a bookcase, because it really looks so cool and it's such an economical, creative way to use what you already have and make it look visually interesting. And the experience was so great, I really can't wait to try some of the other courses that I saw on Craftsy while browsing, particularly how to paint landscape art. I think it would be so amazing to feel confident enough to paint my own pieces that I can then frame and display and swap out based on the seasons. They've got tons and tons of instructional videos taught by talented and friendly experts who are very professional and will walk you through each technique with step-by-step demonstrations, giving you all of their expert tips and tricks along the way. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the video description or scan the QR code that I'm gonna put on the screen right here will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. It's valid for new members only. So in order to unlock this special offer, again, just click the link below in my description, or you can scan this QR code that I'll put right here on the screen for you. Thank you, Craftsy, for sponsoring this video and for helping me to bring my bookcases to life. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 DIYs today. The first of which is the butterfly shadow box that I just talked about. Came out so cool, and I can't wait to show you what it looks like. The second DIY that I'll be sharing with you is a dupe that was inspired by what I've seen on Anthropologie and Terrain and Pottery Barn. They all have these really beautiful dried floral wreaths that are perfect for spring. They have all these gorgeous spring colors and spring tones. Now you'll see that these wreaths that I've seen on these websites run anywhere from $100 all the way to over $200. But we can recreate these at home in a much more inexpensive way and actually have fun doing it. The third DIY that I'll be sharing with you are these really cool glass cloche terrariums. Now I spotted these on the Terrain website, and just for the glass cloche and the pedestal itself, these can run upwards of $168. You guys, there are so many better ways that we can do this, and I'm gonna share with you in this video today just how we can make it happen on a budget. Lastly, I've been loving these gorgeous candles that I spotted on the Anthropologie website. They're very inspiring for spring, they're beautiful. I love how fun the colors are, but again, pretty hefty price tag. And in looking at them, I started thinking, I can make this myself. You can make this yourself. So I went ahead, again, got some basic materials and created some for my home that are perfect for spring. And I'm gonna show you today how you can do the same for your home. If you like videos like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure that you have your notifications turned on so that you never miss a video. And please give this video a thumbs up. That lets me know that you guys like this content. And I'd love it if you could drop me a comment down below. Let me know maybe which DIY was your favorite and which one you plan on doing in your home for spring this year. All right, you guys, guys, I'm very excited to get into this one with you. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
All right, so we're going to get started with DIY number 1, which is a butterfly shadow box. And for this, you need a shadow box, an old book, a few butterfly punchers, and some pins. Now, I grabbed these pins off of Amazon and I typed in vintage pins and the gold ones came up and I just liked how they look. But you can add your own style, of course, and get as creative as you like. So the first thing you're going to do is find an old book and just tear out some pages in it. And then you're going to use the butterfly puncher to punch out little butterflies from the pages. It's really just as simple as that. And I like to turn mine upside down. This way you can kind of see the words that you're going to be printing out. It's a small detail, of course, but I like doing that because it just helps you to see that there are words on all the parts of the wings of the butterfly. And then I just tore off that bottom portion that I cut so that I had room to keep punching little butterflies out of the paper. And because I have a few different sizes and styles of butterfly punchers, I'm just going through and just adding various ones in different places to keep the shadow box piece interesting.
All we really have is time. All we really have is time. I don't wanna waste it on anybody.
So now I'm just taking my little pins and I'm adding them to the center of each butterfly. And I'm using a flat screwdriver just to very gently bend up each of the wings and really add some depth to this piece and make it have a very realistic feel. Now this of course reminds me of those shadow boxes that you see with actual insects in them, which makes this piece really cool and unique because again it's made out of books. So of course on each of the wings you have letters. Now you guys know that I've really been wanting something to style my bookshelves with, so this was really the perfect piece to do it with. I thought it was just really cute and thoughtful, and I can't wait to see how it looks on the new bookshelves.
Seeking you will find.
So now that it's complete, I'm just carefully flipping it over and securing the back side of the shadow box. And now it is ready to style. And because I don't have my bookshelves just yet, I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like on this little shelf in our guest room. And I am loving it. I think it's just so pretty, so different. I really like that it's classic in that it's black and white. And it just adds a really beautiful decorative touch to the area. And I can't wait to see what it looks like on the new bookcases.
Anybody but you. I don't wanna waste it on it.
So here we go with DIY number 2, which is a spring dried floral wreath. Now to make this wreath, we're going to run through some of the materials. We've got some floral wire, a glue gun, and an assortment of dried florals. I picked these up from Hobby Lobby, and a couple of them also came from Michael's. Really just anywhere that you find dried florals. You want a variety of spring colors and different textures. And then these I actually picked up from HomeGoods. I'm going to use them as accent pieces. I also made sure I had some moss on hand and a burlap ribbon so that I can tie it to the top. Now to start, I'm just sort of laying out pieces to just kind of get a feel for how I want them to lay out, where I want them, and just playing around with colors. Now I have seen a lot of these wreaths on websites like Pottery Barn and Anthropologie and Terrain, and they're all just really beautiful. There's really no wrong way to do this. So to start, I am just bundling up some of the greenery, some of that spring sort of baby's breath, and some pieces of lavender. And I thought it would be a good idea to just create little bundles like this and just tuck them into the wreath. And I'm securing them with the glue gun. And I'm going to continue this pattern of making bundles like this, tucking them into the wreath and securing them with the glue until I have a design that I like. And the shape that I'm going for here is basically covering the lower half of the wreath with florals. And then I went ahead and I just cut more of that lavender on hand so that I didn't have to keep stopping and it wouldn't slow me down. So if you're going to create a wreath like this, it's probably best to cut your pieces beforehand. This way it just makes attaching them go a little bit smoother. But either way, again, just bundling it up with that floral wire and tucking them in here and there. I'm not too worried about that bottom portion because I'm actually going to cover up that area strategically with one of the accent flowers. So right now it's starting to take shape and look really nice, and I love the spring colors that are already there. So here are the accent flowers, and I am first, before I glue anything in, I'm just snipping the stems off and I'm laying them out to kind of just get a feel for where I like them. You can play around with this. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. But once you have them laid out in a way that looks good to you, then you can just add a little bit of glue to the stems and just glue them into place. Now I'm layering in a little pop of color with these little delicate stems that are yellowish orange, and also mixing in those little wheat sheaves. And the same way I did it before, I'm just creating little bundles with the floral wire, and then I'm just going to be attaching these in areas of the wreath to just give little pops of color here and there. And before I fasten the floral wire and bundle them up, I'm making sure that I have them laid out in a variety of different heights. That's what gives it more depth. So you can see that I've arranged for some of the brighter pieces to be taller, some of them to be shorter, and I'm doing the same with those wheat sheaf pieces. This gives it more of a natural feel, adds to that sort of wildflower vibe that I'm going for. And I'm also making sure that I add one of these little bundles here and there, just placed strategically throughout the wreath so that every so often you get a nice pop of that bright yellow-orange color. So far, it's looking beautiful. I really love the way that it's turning out. And at this point, I'm just taking a step back and I'm sort of looking at it as a whole and deciding if I want to make any adjustments or maybe add anything in. And I decided that I wanted to add in some more pieces of lavender just to add a few more little pops of that lavender color. And I also decided I want to add a little bit more depth and texture to the piece by adding in a few little patches of this brightly colored green moss. I felt like this just really brought the spring vibe to it when everything is blooming and fresh and there's that bright colored moss everywhere. This just really created even more contrast and, in my opinion, helps those accent flowers pop even more. The beauty of creating a wreath like this is, first of all, it's so satisfying when you create something like this that you can hang proudly on your front door. But also, it's so customizable. You really can go to a place like HomeGoods or Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and just browse what they have in their aisles. Browse the dried florals that they have and just pick up a few of them, put them in your hand and look at all the different colors and play around until you find a combination that you like. There's really no wrong way to do it. So now I've cut about 3 feet of burlap ribbon, and as you can see, I just looped it through once, tied it around, and then I'm going to hang that on my plastic wreath hook that I have here. And once I have it hung up, I'm just going to fasten it by creating a bow. Very simple bow, nothing fancy here. And now I'm just taking my scissor and I'm cutting the excess on a diagonal to give it a nice finished look. And this is the end result on our front door. I am absolutely in love with it. I think it came out so gorgeous, so beautiful for spring. I really needed this little pick-me-up on our front entryway, and I hope that it inspires you to create one as well. moving on to DIY number 3, we're gonna make some floral candles. Now, I showed you guys earlier the ones that I saw on Anthropologie's website that were so beautiful, yet pretty expensive. So we're gonna recreate them ourselves here at home. So as you guys can see, I've got tissue paper, I've got Mod Podge, I have scissors and a paintbrush, a couple of vases. You don't really need anything fancy. I have a glass one and one that's more solid color. And then I also have a candle that I purchased from HomeGoods. Now I got 100% beeswax off of Amazon, and then I purchased this candle kit, which comes with wicks of 3 different sizes, a DIY explanation book, and then some clamps. And again, I've linked everything for you down below. I also got an assortment of flower stickers. Now I have 2 different brands because I really just wanted to see what they looked like and compare. And I'm glad I got the 2 brands. I did wind up mixing and matching a little bit. I think I like this second quality a little bit better. They looked a little bit more realistic, but overall, both sets were really nice. So I'm starting by taking this gold piece of tissue paper. And this is the one that I'm going to start with on this vessel right here. And as you can see, I'm just measuring out something in the size of the height of the vessel. And I'm going to be painting this on with the Mod Podge and just doing a little bit of a decoupage with the tissue paper. You don't have to get super technical here because tissue paper is very forgiving, but I just wanted to make sure that I had a good height here to work with. So I'm starting by painting the Mod Podge on the little container I'm going to be using and just giving it a nice coating so that I can fasten the tissue paper here. As you can see, my daughter's helping me by holding it in place. And again, because tissue paper is pretty forgiving, you can gently tug on it and just make sure that it's lined up. So you want a straight edge when you're working with the top of a vase, just to make sure that it's aligned. And now I'm just smoothing it out. I certainly do not mind some wrinkles here and there. I think it gives it a more natural look. And again, I'm going to be using flower stickers, so I'm not too worried about getting anything perfect. My main goal here is to just make sure that I cover the entire vase with the gold tissue paper. And then I'm going to add a layer of Mod Podge over it just to secure it in place.
Anybody but you. I don't wanna waste it on anybody.
Now that this one's done, I'm going to set it aside on a piece of parchment paper and allow it to dry. And I'm going to do the same process with this glass one, except in this case, I'm using white tissue paper. I wanted to have 1 gold candle and 1 white candle, just to give a nice variety. And I also think that I can then play around with different colored flowers because certain flowers would pop nicer on the gold and certain ones would pop nicer on the white. So same thing here, I'm just taking the flat edge and I'm lining it up with the top. This one was a little bit more tricky because if you can see, the top of this vase is actually slanted, but overall it worked out really nicely. And same thing here, just adding a layer of Mod Podge first on the glass so that I can fasten the tissue paper, and then going over things with another layer of Mod Podge just to lock it all in.
You are brighter all the time.
So this is the candle that I picked up from HomeGoods, and I really liked the shape of the glass, so I decided that I wasn't going to add tissue paper here. In this case, I was just going to add flowers to the glass. So now you can see that my daughter and I are just sort of trying to figure out which flowers would look best on which candle holder. So we decided to get to work, and I'm pairing this lavender color with the white, and Penelope is pairing some of the other florals with the gold. This again is really just a process of preference. So I like to pick 1 or 2 colors just to keep it kind of cohesive, but really you can do this however your heart desires. Just go for whichever spring florals that you're drawn to. I find that it looks really nice when you change the orientation of the flowers. So placing some of them sideways, some of them straight up and down, some of them on a diagonal, really just playing around until you find that you're fitting them in a way that looks natural and pretty to you. And I'm adding a layer of Mod Podge over the clear glass candle just to help secure the stickers on there. I will say that if I were to go back and do this again, I would not probably go for a candle that's ribbed like the one I purchased, only because the stickers didn't secure the way that I had hoped. They did okay, but they didn't lay completely flat as they are in this gold one and in the other glass piece with the white tissue paper. But overall, I really did love how they turned out, and I can't wait to style these. I first need to melt some wax so that I can create the actual candle for the other two vases. So I'm going back to my candle kit, and I'm first going to be securing the wicks to the bottom of the vases. And I have 3 in each one since these are wide mouthed. And you'll see in just a bit that this is another part of the DIY that did not go as planned, however, turned out just fine. So the clamps don't exactly fit. So I went back in my pantry and I found these chopsticks, and I decided to use the chopsticks to just hold the wicks in place. And now that I have them secured, I'm going to be melting the beeswax. So I'm creating a simple double broiler here with some boiling water in a pot, and then I added that beeswax into this glass bowl, and I'm just heating it up until everything is smooth. I also added in a 1/4 cup of coconut oil because I had read that doing so makes sure that the candle burns nice and evenly. Once everything is melted, you can let it cool down, and while it's cooling, I decided that I wanted to make these scented, so I added in a few spring scents like sweet orange and lemon and lavender. And if you're going to add essential oils, you do need a substantial amount, about 100 drops per oil. I realized here, this is another almost fail on my DIY, that I had no real way to pour out the wax, so I quickly had to transfer it to this jar with a spout to pour it into the vessel. And then I did realize at this point, another almost fail, that I didn't have enough wax to fill 2 of them. So I made a quick decision to only fill the one up to the top. I thought this would be better than having 2 half full candles, and really it filled up this one vessel beautifully. Now after about an hour or so, I'm just trimming my wicks, and I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit just to let that wax cure. I really am in awe right now that this is a candle that I just created. I've never done that before, and I just love the way all 3 of these really turned out. I think they're so springy, they add such a beautiful vibe to my home. And what I learned here is that even if you don't want to mess with pouring and melting wax and making the actual candle, you can just make the candle holder and do what I did here and just place a battery operated or regular candle directly inside of it.
You lay easy on my mind, like a candle I just burn away. All we really have is time. All we really have is time. I don't wanna wait.
Moving on to DIY number 4, the butterfly terrariums. Now these are glass cloches with bases, wooden bases, that I picked up on Amazon, and they actually came 2 in a pack for a really reasonable price. So what I want to do is I want to take one of the bases and I'm going to paint it black. So I have some black basic paint. I have a single stem that I picked up from Hobby Lobby that I'm going to cut into pieces. And then I had this pedestal on hand, so I wanted to see if the cloche fit, and it did. So I'm going to keep one of the bases plain, and I'm going to use the pedestal base for the other one. Then I've got some moss here. I showed you also some butterflies that I picked up from Michael's. This is a dome of floral foam, and I have a knife here so that I can slice it, but regular floral foam will work just as well. And I've got scissors and a glue gun here, along with some more dried florals that I picked up from places like HomeGoods, Hobby Lobby, and then I found this really beautiful blue, these little tiny blue stems that I found over at Michael's, and some lavender. I've got a paintbrush, and I'm just going to begin by painting one of the bases black. And I'm just using my brush to get into all the cracks and crevices. Again, I'm leaving the second base plain just in case I ever want to use a terrarium with a wood base. It'll give me that option. Now I'm slicing through the dome to create mini circles, half circles, and I'm just going to make sure that it fits inside the cloche. And now I'm just taking apart that single stem so that I have 4 separate mini stems. Again, just making sure that it fits. And I'm going to start assembling these by just placing 2 to 3 of those little stems inside the dome and then covering up the rest of the dome with some moss. I like to use 2 different types of moss here just to add more depth and give it some extra texture, but you can really do this however you like, just alternating between different kinds of mosses. And now I'm just starting to add very small sprigs of the dried florals. The beautiful thing about creating a terrarium like this is that it's very delicate, very dainty, so you really only need a very small amount of stems. The point is to make it look sparse and just really keep it very light and airy. So I'm taking this little cluster of these yellow mini baby's breath and I'm just adding those into the back. And in this first one, I'm going to add 2 of the butterflies. I'm adding a larger one at the base and fastening a smaller one up toward the top. I love how this turned out. I think that this is just such a beautiful, unique piece, and it would look so nice styled inside of a bookcase or even as a centerpiece on your dining table, really anywhere that you just want to add a nice bit of interest and a spring decor piece. So I'm carefully adding the glass cloche to the top, just making sure that I have all the pieces tucked in. And then I'm just removing some of the excess moss from the bottom.
Take it with anybody but you.
And now that the base that I painted is dry, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process, this time with the flat base. I decided to style these on our dining table in the center of that square tray, and I'm just adding a few dish towels next to it with that pop of green, and overall it makes a stunning centerpiece. These look so good, and you don't need 2 of them. Even 1 of them would just look absolutely beautiful and add so much character to a corner or a bookcase.
That is fading. All you ever do is shine.
That is it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed these DIYs. I hope that you really enjoyed learning these step-by-step ways that you can bring spring into your home from items that you may see online that are very high priced, but you can do it on a budget. If you guys did like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below maybe which part was your favorite. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.
I could sit